Hello, Luke Bug, the Geek of Steel here with Kevin Smith.
Hey man.
It is an honour.
Damn pleasure, sir. Damn pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
We were just before the show talking about these pins. I have those pins. Like, what a weird small world.
Yeah, Cape Justice, jewelry, good friend, pretty much a brother from another mother. In New York, your neck of the woods.
Is that where they're from?
Yeah, New York.
I wore the crypto pin on the upcoming Crisis Aftermath, which is like a show that follows the crossover they're doing for the Berlantiverse shows. I don't know what they call them over here. We call them the CW shows at home because that's the network it's on. What do they call Flash and Supergirl and Arrow? Do they have a collective term?
We call it the Arrowverse over here.
Arrowverse, that's right. And they do that there as well. But we're used to calling it like the other. So the Arrowverse crossover, we do afterwards a Crisis Aftermath, like kind of like Talking Dead. We sit around and analyze the show afterwards. And so I was wearing that crypto pin for most of it. And so many people, man, because we're all geeks in this field, so we're like, oh my, where'd you get that? I was like, bought it online, it's amazing. So this is only the second time I ever saw it.
Really?
Yeah, and I have that Supergirl pin. I've worn it in front of Melissa and stuff like that. Yeah.
Good stuff. I watched Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
How did it play?
Over and over again. It's been on repeat. So
yeah, you're right.
We love it. It's,
that means the world.
It's not only, I feel, a love letter to the fans.
Absolutely. It's a love letter to myself.
That's what I'm saying. And your cast members, obviously, that have become family, and your family are in it now.
Yeah.
As well. So
yeah.
It's
weird. I was thought about it last night. My mom is in the movie.
I did notice that.
Standing next to me is Silent Bob, and she gives me a thumbs up. My brother's in the movie. He's on the other side of her. He's dressed like Jay. My sister's in the movie. She plays Alyssa's partner in the movie, and she played that part at the end of Chasing Amy. So putting her in this movie I love because it enabled me to reframe Chasing Amy as a love story that only begins in the last 3 minutes of the movie, because in this movie that couple's like still together. So that's all my immediate family except my old man, he died and stuff. Jay's family's in the movie as well. His wife's in the movie. She's the bailiff that brings us into court, which makes sense because she leads us everywhere in life. And Logan, his daughter's in the movie playing Ben's daughter, just as my daughter plays Jay's daughter. We do musical chair shell game with our kids.
That scene with Ben. No spoilers
Tremendous.
for those. Obviously, it comes out today.
It's today. Let's spoil it so maybe they want to go.
I don't want to. There's lots of it that we do know about already, but there's some that I don't want to ruin it for other people. But Ben's, as you said, monologue was so touching.
He crushed it, man. Like it was an 8-page scene and a 1-page monologue, like smack dab in the middle of it. And for a 1-page monologue, think about it. That's an entire page of paper, and the words all the way down are all yours, and you've got to do it. You've got to carry that thing. He crushed it. And I was like, man, oh man, like you rolled tears. I was like, that was magic. And he's like, you wrote the exact thing that I want to say at this time in my life. He's like, I don't care about my work as much as I care about my kids. He's like, so the words like rang true. So we were kind of hoping that it would be the same for a lot of the audience, like, because a lot of the audience is my age, man. They've been coming up with me for like 25 years and stuff. I go on tour with the movie. I've shown the movie here in England and stuff, and did Q&A afterwards. I look out and see a lot of similar aged people. But then there's always like a little cross section, particularly in the States, of parents and like a 16-year-old kid. And I'm all, invariably one will get up and ask a question. This 16-year-old girl got up in Atlanta. And I was like, you were cum when we made that first movie. Like, what are you doing here? What must this movie be like to you? A bunch of old people you've like never heard of talking about things from old movies. And she was like, no, I know all these movies. My father passed them down. My father wanted me to watch them. These movies were important to him, so we watched these movies together and stuff. And I was like, what kind of irresponsible parent do you got? She's like, this one right here. He stands up and he's like, I'm a fan. So it's lovely, man. Like, it becomes a generational thing. So Ben's big speech kills in our audience because most of the audience is my age and a lot of the audience have kids. So suddenly, like, the people who are with us since Clerks in their 20s, man, edgy and young and stuff, quite like myself, we've lost our edge. We've all grown up. We're not young.
It comes out now and again.
Yes, periodically. But now, less than edge, I'm more interested in showing a smoother side. Like, edge has been something I've gotten to do for years in terms of like risque humor and stuff. But the heart thing, like, is something I've always loved and have had varying degrees of success with. Like Chasing Amy, they kind of went for it, which was wonderful. Jersey Girl, they did not go for it. They were like, go back to Jay and Silent Bob. So in this instance, I was like, ugh, like we're risky in a Jay and Silent Bob movie being touchy-feely because that's not what that audience is there for. They're like, we want to see Jay and Silent Bob. We want them to be funny. It's a sequel to the comedy. But since we're all older, man, and since Affleck crushed that scene, it plays. It plays for even people that aren't my age.
The balance between comedy and drama in it was fantastic. Your daughter, the acting there.
She was wonderful.
Cried on command.
Yes.
Yeah,
Who knew? Well, she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood right before she was in Silent Bob Reboot. So when she came to our set, she was like, I've worked with a real director. So she was ready. She brought the thunder. And she's a Stella Adler kid. She's studied the Stella Adler method and stuff. And so she really believes in the craft. She's young, right? She's 20. So to her, like, it's not just like, oh, I'm just saying some words. Like, you know, she cries in the movie, and I was like, let me ask you something. Between takes, I was just hanging out with her. I was like, what do you think about to cry? I was like, please tell me it's not me or something that I did as a parent. And she's going, I don't think about you at all. I don't think about Harley Quinn. You think Harley Quinn's not crying? It's like, this is Millie, and Millie has an inner life. And Millie has gone through things that maybe you don't understand. I was like, all right, Meryl, calm down. I get it. You're an actress now. So yeah, she takes it so seriously. And first day on the show, like when she was finished, my wife asked me, she's like, how'd Harley do? And I was like, I think she did wonderful, but I think she's in a completely different movie than the rest of us. We're all making a human cartoon, and she's in there actually emoting. She's being dramatic. She's rolling tears in scenes. And Jen's like, is it the right choice? I was like, I had no other plan, so we'll go with this, you know, until otherwise spoken. And then by day 2, I saw what she was doing. She was humanizing the character. And she was like, I remember at one point on set, I was like, I need you to deliver this line, make it big because it's comedic and stuff. And she goes, that doesn't sound human. And I was like, okay, deliver it the way you want, kid, that's fine. And, you know, I kind of honored her take on the character. And because of that, she is like this not only strong spine to the movie, and she doesn't come into it until about a half hour in and stuff. But once she's in, you realize, oh, this is what the movie's meant to be. She's propping it up. Otherwise, it's a series of old jokes and stuff. And she's the new thing. And then all our friends are the new thing. And it kind of makes it fun because we're taking fish out of water from the 90s, Jay and Bob, and introducing them to 2019. So it's like, here's racial prejudice with the Ku Klux Klan. Here's Russian collusion for some reason.
That was with that scene.
Yes.
Glengarry getting Ross, sorry. I was like, wow, how did you get that reference in there?
You know what's weird about that too? Like when I first started making movies, you can reference, like we did all the Star Wars lines and Star Wars jokes in the movie. You never had to ask permission. Now, in this day and age, since we were quoting lines from Glengarry Glen Ross, or, you know, paraphrasing them and stuff, we had to get permission from both David Mamet and from New Line, who released the movie, because we were aping not the play, but the movie version that had the Alec Baldwin scene in it. First time I ever encountered that in 25 years. If that had existed back during Clerks, I probably would have been too scared to even reference Star Wars and stuff. And it makes sense. It's like, hey man, we created those dialogue lines like years ago. We own those, and you're just gonna say them in another movie? Like, hey, so it kind of makes sense, but it is a different world at this point.
But I mean, obviously, a very proud moment having screen time with your daughter.
Yes.
But obviously, I feel one of your proudest moments. You mentioned it before when Stan Lee cameoed, not only in Mallrats, but
Go-Go's as well. And I got to, referenced Stan is Stan in Mallrats.
Yeah.
And when we did it, it was in 1995, where maybe the whole world wasn't familiar with them, like hardcore geeks were and stuff. And at that point, like I had a little juice, I thought. And so I was like, hey, everybody, like this is the guy that made Spider-Man, amongst other things and stuff. I got to introduce him to a new generation. And then years later, in that Captain Marvel scene, he kind of returned the favor. Yeah, he's holding up the script, says Mallrats, Kevin Smith. It's almost like Stan being like, hey kids, Kevin Smith is maybe somebody you don't know. Let me introduce him to a whole new generation. So what went around came around, and it came around, you know, at the hands of Stan. And that cameo in Captain Marvel, referencing back to the Mallrats cameo, was everything. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, oh my God, like not only was I so lucky to get Stan in Mallrats back in '95, I was so smart because he got super famous later on and then dragged me out with him a little bit, which is so great, man. He was everything. He was such a wonderful guy.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I hope so many people see this movie, new
Fingers
fans
crossed.
and old fans. I want to go and see it again. So thank you so much for your time. Right, you're an inspiration. You're why I do my podcast.
Yeah, why? Which were the ones that I did that made you want to do it?
More of the Star Wars ones and going back to like and you know, Death of Superman Lives. You know,
Isn't it great, like podcasting, where you just get to sit there and speak passionately about what you want to speak about?
It's therapeutic.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
and it also like gives you a voice that you never knew you had before. Suddenly you're like, oh, I'm a presence, I'm a personality.
That's it.
And you get to control your voice like an instrument. The more you do it, the more you'll learn, like, oh, I can hit highs and lows and stuff.
And recently I had Susan Eisenberg, the voice of Wonder Woman, and she says hello to you.
She's at number one, wonderful. I met her at a con in LA at the LA Comic Con, like, was it 2 months ago? Number two, when does this go out?
As soon as possible. Oh,
I wouldn't be surprised if Susan
it's going to be busy soon.
busy soon in an animated.
Don't stop, that's enough.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you said. David, thank you so much.
Pleasure,
Good
man.
luck
Pleasure.
with the future, and I hope I'll see you again one day.
You will. I
Okay.
will, as long as I live. Yeah.
Have a good day. Thank you.